I just sent out the announcements and I should be live on YouTube in just one moment. I have to double check the page actually. The announcements and I should be live on YouTube where am I? In just one moment. Where am I talking from? Oh, I had myself open on another tab. Oops. Oops, sorry about that. And I should be live on Twitch. Yes, I am. I'm live on both platforms. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael, and today I'm playing the Ghosts of Alcantra for the Fall in Love Festival. If you click the link down below on my YouTube stream, you should be able to take a look at the Ghosts of Alcantra Steam page as well as the Fall in Love Festival. All right. I think I could add that to Twitch. I don't know how descriptions work on Twitch actually, so I might just like type that as a message. I should probably do that real quick. It's been a while since I've dual streamed like this, so give me just one moment. All right. I need to get the full links. Are the full links not working? All right. It should be all working now. Let me get onto the Twitch feed. Oh, what did I do? Oh, okay. I fixed it. I completely messed up the game screen. All right. Very professional streamer. Professional streamer hours. All right. I just sent out the links of the Fall in Love Festival as well as the Ghost of Alcantra on Twitch. Hello, Dev here. Thanks for checking out a game. I hope you enjoy it. Hello, developer. I'm really excited to start playing your game. All right, let's go ahead and load it up. The song playing right now is Etude Opening 5. I couldn't read that all in time. Dedicated to Nick, who helped me turn a dream into a story. Part 1, Setting Sun. June 6, 1987. Wow, that is literally, well, I was not born in 1987, but my birthday's on June 7th. This is literally a day before my birthday, but I was not born in 1987. I was born way after that, but that is scarily close to my birthday. I sometimes wonder how much the world would change if I saw it as someone else. Take Miss Williams over there. She managed to keep up a polite smile on her wrinkled old face as she nods along with Miss Johnson's babbling about how great her kids are. Also, by the way, an interesting fact about this game is all these images are taken from real life images and they're like adjusted through like filters to make them look very unique and cool. It's kind of reminds me how the original Higurashi no Nakukora ni novel did their backgrounds for their games, since a lot of the images were from the village Shirokara Go, and they put a bunch of filters on them for the Higurashi no Nakukora ni series. So I'm really liking how the developers of the Ghost of Alcantra did a similar style. But in the gaps of their one-sided conversation, you can see Miss Williams' eyes betray the smile on her face as she looks past Miss Johnson to somewhere further away. Miss Williams' husband died a year ago after a long battle with an autoimmune disorder. The world of Miss Williams, is it bright like a smile? Or gray like a vacant stare? Without her story, you never know. Yeah, I based the filter star off of Higurashi. Yep. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the When They Cry series, so I had to make that reference. Then there's Farmer Todd, who is lecturing a couple of kids who are misbehaving. He's a typical grouchy type, never happy with how the world is, never happy about what people are doing. Despite that, if you pay careful attention, you can see Farmer Todd trying to suppress a smile. His wife and kids died in a traffic accident with a logging truck, and ever since, he's decided to do what he can to help guide others. Umineko and Tsubuhibi are big inspirations for this story. Ooh! Speaking of Umineko, I am very close to the last chapter. I was actually streaming it yesterday. I've yet to read Tsubuhibi, though. I've been getting a lot of suggestions for that, so I might be playing that in the future. Likely after I'm done with Umineko at some point, since I think my main visual novel game after Umineko, I'm going to be streaming The house in Fata Morgana. Yeah, that's gonna be my next big game after Umineko. The world of Farmer Todd. Is it the world of someone irritably chipping away at their lonely days, or the world of someone determined to make the world a slightly better place? Each and every one of us, we're all a Miss Williams or a Farmer Todd, individuals with unique inner worlds. All of us have a story worth sharing. Ooh. I bounded along the canal front walkway, adorned with festival stalls, as the evening sunset began its retreat. Why was I having these types of thoughts? I guess it's because of the story this festival is based on. Okay. Story this festival is based on. On the first weekend of every June, our small town of Alcantra, located in the northern tip of Michigan, holds a festival with the extremely original name, the Summer Festival. Once upon a time, Alcantra was a town named Connington, which was known for copper mining and lake fishing. Then a little over 100 years ago, the leader of this town, Alstor Thorne, proposed changing the town name to Alcantra in remembrance of his recently departed lover. The story goes that Alstor had been on the brink of death, and just as he was about to pass on to the afterlife, the ghost of his beloved Alcantra met him on the fringes between life and death, and convinced him he needed to live. He was able to make a recovery, and afterwards, he decided to rename the town in honor of his wife and propose an annual festival in remembrance of her. To this day, we still celebrate the summer festival every first weekend of June, though what was once a celebration about cheesy sentiment like the endurance of love and the importance of connection has evolved into a wonderful excuse to get drunk, light up explosions, and eat lots of cheap food. Not that the typical Midwesterner needed any excuse to do those things. Oh man, one of the main things that really intrigues me about this game is the setting, because I'm from the Midwest myself. It's not every day I get to play a game from the area I'm from. Alcantra is based off of our hometown. We are a two-man team. He writes and I do the visual novel engine stuff. We have been friends since we were in the 3rd grade. Nice. Nice. I also noticed that this was programmed in RimPy. I actually taught a summer camp for kids where we used RimPy as like one of our main engines. We also used Twine, but I was the RimPy instructor. Maybe it's because I'm not allowed to drink yet, or that most of the food I eat is already pretty cheap, but I always think of this festival in relation to its romantic origins. While I doubt that I'll ever meet anyone who loves me enough to meet me in purgatory to convince me to live, I do like the idea that new perspectives can open up the world in ways that would be impossible with just your own. I imagine that what Alcantra told Alistair was a story of her life, and it was that story that convinced him to live. We need other viewpoints, not just our own, to help us get through life. As I was having these thoughts, I saw Miss Williams manage to flee from Miss Johnson's verbal barrage, and decided I would put my sentimental feelings on hold to get some ice cream from the Johnson stall. Hey, Nick! Glad you could stop by. Walberton and Terrence not with you today? Yeah, just me today. Walberton's family is out fishing, and Terrence has decided he's too cool to go to local festivals. Believe solitude is the way to go. Mr. Johnson chuckled in response. Well, tell you what, kid. Since I don't want you to feel lonely, I'll give you an extra cone. I rolled my eyes, but accepted the charity. Say, wasn't Miss Radek supposed to be helping out with your stall? I feigned concern about the efficiency of their ice cream operation, but I was mostly concerned about the quality. Miss Radek was a quiet woman who didn't talk much, but man, she know desserts. I was a big fan of her bakery downtown, though I had no doubt she could work her miracles for an ice cream stall too. Miss Johnson huffed. Yeah, where is Marina? Oh, very unlike her to bail. I'm gonna have to stop by this evening and give her a good scolding. She knows how much the town looks forward to our stall every year. Yeah, not like her at all. Hope she's alright. I thanked the Johnsons for the ice cream, struggled to pay with 2 cones in my hands, and left them grumbling about Miss Raddick's absence. The fireworks show was going to start soon, and I had my special spot to get to. Hell yeah. My special fireworks spot was a little clearing at the bottom of a path heading towards the shore. I'm not really a loner, but I always watch the fireworks alone. This little excursion was my yearly excuse to find myself under the lights of a supposed centuries-long romance. Okay. I weaved my way through the crowd till I made it to the outskirts of the festival. I finished up my ice cream as nightfall began to settle in, though the calming ambiance of the emerging moon did little to quiet the racket behind me. I've never understood fireworks as a group spectacle. Nothing like the cheering of crowds, the hollowings of drunks, and the crying of children to kill the atmosphere. That's why I wanted to watch the fireworks for my special spot. You know what? I kind of have to agree with that. Sometimes being surrounded by drunk people is just not fun, especially when you're just trying to enjoy fireworks. Like, that's like the downside sometimes of fireworks shows, like everyone being drunk around you. As I was just about to head through the trail to get to my fireworks spot, I saw a girl sitting on the grass by the canal front. Oh? Claire de Lune. She wore a simple but elegant summer dress and sat downright offensively good posture. But what caught my attention the most was the expression on her face. She had a blank look with empty eyes. She was facing the canal, but taking in nothing. It looked like a gust of wind could take her far away from here. The closer I got, the more I could sense that there was a loneliness to her. Solitary fireworks viewing was my thing, but solitude is best when it is chosen, not when it's routine. I thought about the summer festival and what it meant to me, and decided it was worth the attempt to see if there was anything behind that empty expression. I cautiously headed over to her. She didn't look like anyone I knew, so she probably wasn't from Alcantra. Alcantra is a small town of about 5,000 people, and everyone knows each other. I would definitely recognize someone from my school. I guess she was visiting for the festival. Are you here to see the fireworks? She looked over startled, panicking at having been addressed. I like the little, I already skipped past it, but I like the little, drawings around her head for her expression. She looked around startled, panicking at having been addressed. Her look then turned into a wary sort of glare. I began to regret my decision. Who voluntarily subjects himself to small talk? After taking her time to glare at me, she answered, I am... and then said nothing else, leaving it up to me to be the conversationalist. She continued to look at me as if trying to figure out my character, which prevented me from throwing a, well, it was nice meeting you, see you later, and fleeing. I soldiered on. I'm Nick Fox. I'm guessing you're not from around here? She hesitated, then slowly nodded her head. Where are you from, then? None of your business. She spat that back at me quickly, not quietly. A little taken aback, I regretted my soldiering on, and thought that she probably just wanted to be left alone. I began to start walking away when she spoke again. Sorry, there are secrets a girl has to keep to herself. Well, okay, that's fair. I'm gonna get a quick drink real quick. Also checking the Twitch feed. She seemed more willing to talk now. I thought I saw the faintest glimmer of a smile show up. Also, in terms of my Twitch feed, I thought I got a new message, but it was actually my own self messaging my Twitch feed. That is a really delayed message, though. I don't know why my message was like 10 minutes delayed. That's interesting. That is very interesting. She seemed more willing to talk now. I thought I saw the faintest glimmer of a smile show up. I suspect it's because guys are easily swayed by smiles, even by the ghost of one. But I decided I could at least be a good host and recommend her a good viewing spot for the fireworks. Well, The fireworks show starts in a few minutes. There's a spot around the path there that has a great view. You're welcome to join me. She hesitated before slowly getting up. Sure. Okay. I nodded and headed toward the path. She walked behind me. So, you got a name? Yes. I waited for her to tell me her name, but I guess she had that regal air about her. Maybe she wasn't used to dealing with us commoners and didn't throw her name around so casually. What's your name then? It's Alexandria. You have a last name? I asked because there was a good chance I would know someone she's related to if she was visiting that everyone knows given if she was visiting, given that everyone knows everybody around here. There was a brief silence as she thought about it. Who has to think about their name? Sorry, I can't tell you that. I sighed. Another one of those secrets you girls have to keep? Yes. But I also don't answer strange questions from guys I haven't met before. Really smart. That is big brain. Really smart. She was very guarded and short with her responses, but honestly, from the tone of her voice, I got the feeling she wasn't that upset with me. We exited the trail, and the clearing emerged. I sat down where you could see the fireworks best. I decided to break the ice by introducing myself. Well, I'm Nick Fox. I'm a senior at Alcantra Hyde. It's nice to meet you. She sat down a good distance away from me and gave me another wary glance. Tell me, do you often try to pick up strange girls at night? Well, she at least recognized that. No, at least she recognized that she was strange. I decided to jab back. No, I don't. And I'm guessing you're not used to being talked to? Damn! She gave a sad sort of smile that made me regret my little jab. No, I'm not used to being talked to. That made me regret my jab even more. I'm sorry to hear that. Don't worry about it. Silence descended between us while I tried to think of reassuring platitudes to give her while she sat calmly, with a dignified air. She may have been lonely, but she was used to it. The thought made me a little sad. Ooh, that's cool. Before I said anything, the fireworks began. A dazzling and dizzying-like show accompanied by distant cheers. Even with all the noise, the silence between Alexandria and I was much more striking. I wasn't paying much attention to the show, the novelty of the rest of the experience being much more interesting. I glanced over at her and saw that her expression had changed a little. Not by a lot, though. I guess not even the splendor of explosives could completely wipe away whatever melancholic feeling she might have felt. But this time, that empty look was accompanied by the hopeful glimmer of a smile. Despite giving up on my solitary tradition, it was probably worth it to share a part of my world with her. When the show ended, I probably wouldn't see her again. Mildly hopeless as I am, I wanted the sentiment of the festival to ring true. After a moment of time that felt like it lasted both mere seconds and an eternity, the fireworks were over. All we were left with was the afterglow of a celebration and the growing glow of the stars above. So, you enjoy the show? If you're visiting, there's not a lot to do here, but at the very least, the people here know gunpowder. She got up and dusted off her dress. That is one major thing about the Midwest. The Midwest, even though there's not a lot to do here, we do throw a pretty good fireworks show. I did. It was a great show. She hesitated, then continued on, speaking very hurriedly, like she thought she might not get the opportunity to do so later. I've been put in a position where I don't interact with people very often, especially people my age, so I'm sorry if I was a little awkward.
I don't have many friends. I have everything I need and very little of what I actually want. But recently, something good happened to me and I got the opportunity to come here. I had heard of the summer festival and I loved the story of the town of Alcantra. As for hobbies, I read lots of novels of all types, but I love mysteries and romances the most. I can't tell you my last name, my situation, or where I'm from, but at the very least, I can tell you that I'm very glad you invited me to see the fireworks with you. She flashed me a bright smile. While the lonely look sort of suited her, I thought this one suited her more. Anyway, I have to go now. My caretakers will be waiting for me. Caretakers? I guess she wasn't staying with family while she was visiting. She gave me a small wave. Bye, Nick. I waved back. See you later, Alexandria. She headed back towards the trail. I sat in the silence left in her wake for a bit, and then followed suit. On my way home, I became reflective again, thinking of the world she lived in and what it was like. Thinking about that, I began to hope that I might see her again. Part 2, Endless Night. May 30th, 1997. Whoa, that's a big time jump! 1997. Chopin Nocturne, opening 28, number something. Okay, that's a very massive shift. Holy crap. Perhaps I was looking for a place to die. I certainly didn't make an effort to get out of the way of the motorcyclists. I don't know if it was because I couldn't or because I didn't want to. I'd been walking up a slope on the north side of town. It was nighttime, and the cold air betrayed the beginning of the warm season we were supposed to be in. As I neared the top of the slope, I heard the shrill cry of an engine. By the time I looked up, the motorcyclist had already lost control going around the turn at the top of the slope. Then the next moment, it was barreling toward me. I barely had time to register the pain before I was flat on my back, gasping for breath. I turned my head to see the motorcyclists. They hit a tree and would have been dead on impact. I knew I would soon join them. I had returned to my hometown of Alcantra after many years. I don't know why I came back. I hated the place. I had bad memories from our previous time here. The streets, the water, the air, all of it was permeated with my guilt and regret. No matter where I looked, what I did, or who I talked to, I couldn't get away from those feelings. I had tried to escape, but it was futile. No one can run away from themselves. This wasn't such a bad place to die. It was quiet and peaceful, and the top of the slope gave me a great view of the stars. I used to love looking at the stars. They shined so brightly to me before. Looking at them now, they barely shone at all. It's funny. Looking at the stars now, they seemed farther away than ever, even though I was about to join them. I reached out my hand and tried to grasp a star. Of course, my hand never came close. I let my hand fall back down to the ground. I wasn't close to the sky, the stars, or to her. Now, finally, I might be able to see her again. My beneficent but ever-present ghost. I'll be with you soon. Let's dance among the stars, you and I. Smiling, I closed my eyes, and I faded. Faded. I was fading, but getting closer and closer to a bright light. It was far too bright. This sort of radiance, this sort of warmth, I didn't deserve it. I could hear a woman's voice beckoning me to come. I'm not falling for that. I'm not stupid enough to go towards a light. Not one as beautiful as that. The woman was pleading, begging for me to join her. I saw a glimpse of what lay beyond that light. It was wonderful and happy. It was too good to be true. Sorry. I'm looking to be reunited with a ghost, but you can't be the one I'm looking for. The ghost I'm looking for wouldn't beckon me to a wondrous place like this. I turned away from the light. There was no place for me there. If that was heaven, that's not what I deserved. I'm wretched and despicable, and I deserve punishment. Ignoring the pleading, crying, and begging from the woman's voice behind me, I faded away again. And faded. And faded. And faded. This time, I faded towards a deep darkness. Yes, this is where I belong. Once again, I heard a woman's voice. This time, the voice simmered with scorn. The words were filled with malice, those tones dripping with venom. Yes, you must be the ghost I'm looking for. I headed to that darkness and to her voice. It was a voice filled with so much hatred, but it was enticing and enrapturing to me. This is where I belong. This is where it would end for me. I faded away. And faded. And faded. And faded. And faded away. Oh. And we're back. Chopin Waltz opening 34. The music disappears very fast. I can never read that in time. Alright, very intriguing. I awoke to the irritating beeping of a vital signs monitor. With some effort, I managed to sit up in my bed. I glanced around the room. I figured out quickly that I was in a hospital. I'm guessing my injury was pretty bad. My arms and legs seemed to work fine. I was hooked up to several machines. I was alone in the room. There's a bug on my screen. Shoo. Please shoo, bug. I was alone in the room, but with nothing but the sterility of the hospital atmosphere to keep me company. It wasn't pleasant company, and I wanted to find a button that would summon medical staff over, but I figured it'd be a bad idea to just start pressing buttons. I had to wait for the return of a nurse or a doctor. I lay back down and reflected on the current situation. I didn't seem to be dying. My body worked, my mind worked, but I was strangely empty. Yes, that's the word to describe it. Empty. There was nothing to me, but only lingering feelings of guilt and sorrow. I didn't know why I felt guilty. I didn't know why I felt sad. I tried to think about my situation. Obviously, I must have had some people in my life who would be concerned about me. They must be around somewhere. I try to think of who those people would be. Are there any? I tried to remember friends, but I couldn't remember any. Lovers? I must have had some, but I couldn't remember any. Perhaps I was a hermit and didn't associate with others. Okay then, let's think about me. Me. What's my name? I don't know. Aren't you Nick? What's my age? I don't know. We might not be Nick. This could be a narration switch. We might be still Nick, but this could be a narration switch. Where am I from? I don't know. What did I do? I don't know. What happened to me? People know these things about themselves. Why can't I answer those questions? Obviously, my brain is working, but I guess it's not working as well as it should be. I started to panic. I realized why I felt so empty. Without memories, there was no me. I was only an outer shell with nothing inside. My breathing quickened, and I started gasping at the machines bound to me. I needed to get out of here. Anywhere but here. It must be the hospital. I'm not responding well to whatever happened to me. I needed a change of scenery, maybe some fresh air. That might help jog my memory. Sensing my panic, a chubby man with a graying head of hair to match the graying beard came in, and seeing my tingle frenzy with the nearby machines, rushed over. Stop! Calm down, you're alright. Let me explain the situation. You'll be alright. This is a narrator switch. This is a dual perspective narrative. One takes place in 1987 and the other takes place in 1997. Got it. Okay. I was not for sure if I was still Nick in the future or if I was a different character 10 years later. Okay. That is a good clarification. Saying that wasn't going to calm me down, but I was weaker than I had thought because he easily took my hands off the devices and gently laid me back down in the bed. It struck me that I was being stupid. Of course, the doctor would have to know something about me, and we could go from there. Rationally prevailing, I calmed down. While the doctor took deep breaths and patted out some sweat on his forehead with a handkerchief, I asked him, "So, what's wrong with me?" The doctor stopped mid-sweat pad to look at me. He slowly put the handkerchief away, and then did his best to rearrange his face into a calm expression. "Well, no time for pleasantries, I guess. But regardless, it's good to see you awake. I better start from the beginning, and then we can figure out your condition. You've been uncautious in the hospital for a week. Gold text and blue text box is 87. Red text and purple text box is 97 as a visual cue." Okay. Okay, that's really good information for me to know as well. "You were hit by a motorcycle, and the impact caused quite a bit of damage. It's a miracle you're alive, and as well as you are. None of your injuries are life-threatening. Unfortunately, you've also had some spinal and head damage. The damage to your head was particularly nasty." A head injury? My stomach began to drop in realization. "Now then, you asked if there was something wrong with you. Physically, you took some damage, but nothing to warrant anything as dramatic as saying there's something wrong with you. Please tell me how you're feeling, and I'll try to illustrate as much as I can. Illuminate, not illustrate. And I'll try to illuminate as much as I can." I give it to him bluntly. "I can't remember anything." The doctor frowned at that. "Well, obviously that's completely not true. You definitely remember some things, but the possibility of memory loss was something we were worried about given the potential trauma of the injury. Let's work out what you can and cannot remember. Can you remember who you are?" I shook my head. "Not even your name?" I shook my head again. "Then you can't remember any family or friends?" I shook my head a third time. "Do you have any strong recollections, like particularly strong associations of joy or sorrow, even if you can't remember the details?" I thought about it. Now that he mentioned it, I did feel deep pangs of guilt and sorrow somewhere within me. I told the doctor as much. "Okay, let's return to that in a bit. You remember how to talk, so you must remember a lot of other things. It's clear you remember how, and I know this is a strange description, how things work. Like, you'll know how math works, so your cognitive abilities are still working. Let's try a different route. Do you remember how apples taste?" Yeah. Actually, I do. I know what they taste like." "Interesting." We played a game of 20 questions. My initial self-diagnosis was pretty off. I remember plenty of things. In fact, it seemed like I remember most things. I remember that the Cowboys won the 1996 Super Bowl, that Bill Clinton was the president, and things like that. God, that's so weird. It's so surreal saying Bill Clinton was the president. God, it's been a long time since he was president. The only things I couldn't remember were anything to do with me, and so far, I seem to be making new memories just fine. "Well, this is highly unusual. Post-traumatic amnesia isn't particularly uncommon, but most amnesiacs experience anterograde amnesia." Anterograde amnesia? "That is, they can't make new memories. We'll monitor the situation, but it looks like you have a highly unusual case of retrograde amnesia. That's when you can't remember previously stored memories, and even those cases just involve forgetting relatively recent memories, not long-term and grade ones. Even more so, that has such a highly specific type of retrograde amnesia, where only certain types of memories are affected. I've never heard of it happening. I suspect that in time, you'll recover your memories. I suspect that this is a hard word for me to pronounce. I suspect that the specificity of your amnesia is more likely to lie with your psychological condition rather than your physical. You mentioned strong remnant feelings of guilt and sorrow. It's likely those feelings are the root cause of your current condition. The accident with the motorcyclist was merely a catalyst that allowed this to happen. That seemed far-fetched, but I decided to trust the doctor. It was a lot to take in, but it was reassuring that he thought that I'd get my memories back. Then I realized that we were forgetting something obvious. Of course, we could figure out who I was. There had to be someone in the area who knew me. I brought this up to the doctor, but his face darkened. We'll send notifications to the police about this, and reports will be filed. But no one has come forward regarding you. We're in Alcantra, a small town in northern Michigan. Perhaps it's an area you're not from, so identification from a local who knows you might not be possible. If that's the case, then it might take some time for the police to track down where you're from. Alcantra. That name sounded familiar. I was positive that I knew the area. No, it was more than I knew about the area. Alcantra must be associated with those lingering feelings of regret and sadness I had. It must have been a part of me, which made it strange that no one had come forward to identify me. I was hit by a motorcyclist, meaning I was out walking. Surely it had some form of ID on me? The doctor's face became even more glum. Well, you had a wallet. Perfect. There's no way my driver's license wasn't in there. Unless I didn't have one. There was no ID in it. Great. I don't remember who I am. And apparently who I was a loser who couldn't drive. Actually, there is someone who wants to talk to you about that. We have good reason to think your wallet was tampered with. You mean they stole the money? No, the money is still there. You still have your $13.47. The tampering was more malicious than that. The doctor gave a big sigh. Honestly, I think you need more time to process all of this. But the person who wants to meet you is quite insistent that it's urgent she meets with you as soon as possible. She's going to be sorely disappointed about your condition. His glum face became even glummer. I hope he had saved enough time. He saved enough for retirement. He probably deserved it. Oh man, that's a good line. Frankly, the matter probably is urgent. Are you okay with seeing her? I am. Okay. I'll update her about your condition, and then let her in to see you. The doctor got up and walked out the door, leaving me to stew in anticipation. At this point, I was more curious than nervous. About 10 minutes later, a woman locked in. Elgar, Violent Sinatra. She marched in like she owned the place. I really like her design. She glanced at me before taking out a cigarette and putting it in her mouth. This is 1997. I almost forgot. I was about to ask, why are you smoking in a hospital? But it is 1997. Got out her lighter. Looked at me again. Probably reflecting on the legality of smoking in hospitals. And then lit the cigarette anyway. Probably reflecting on the legality of smoking in hospitals. Was it legal in Michigan to smoke in hospitals in 1997? I mean, in general, you probably shouldn't smoke in a hospital. At the same time, though, was it legal at the time to smoke inside? The doctor didn't come in with her, which I was mildly alarmed by, given her lack of concern for his patient. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but there was something familiar about this detective. Maybe it was the mannerisms. They reminded me of memories I felt I might have had. After taking a drag of her cigarette, she acknowledged me with, "So, Pretty tough spot you're in, huh? Everyone loves Scarlet at first. At first, yep. Everyone loves Scarlet at first. Yep. I already like her. Like, her design alone already told me I'm gonna like her. Before I could give her a response, she continued. I'm Detective Scarlet Storm. Work for the Alcantra police. I tried to get a cool code name like Red Thunder, but they turned me down. So Detective Storm it is. She then pulled up a chair, set it down, and leaned in towards me with an unhinged gleam in her eye. She felt more like a hunter than a detective. I was a patient now. I'd be pretty soon enough. You know about my current condition, then? Sure do. Crazy stuff. A little too crazy for a small place like this. She tilted her head, and then glared at me like my amnesia ticked her off personally. Yes? I may be a storm, but I know the importance of order. Something's gotta be done right. Can't have a conversation without a proper introduction. Now, I know you don't remember your name, so we'll have to come up with a temporary name for you. I agreed it was probably going to be awkward to go around nameless in the near future. I nodded. Okay then. Let's come up with a name. How about something simple like John? Sorry, but why isn't there any Demon Six or Bunny Girls fighting the detective? I don't only play Umineko, guys. Dumbest thing I've heard. You don't look like a John at all. What does a John look like anyway? I realized I had no idea what I looked like since there weren't any mirrors here, and I didn't remember my appearance. Okay, not John then. What do I look like when we're using appearances to decide my name? And while we're at it, how old do I look? You look like you were dumped by your girlfriend after 10 years of going steady, but not committing to tying the knot. Cried your eyes out, didn't get cleaned up afterwards, and then went out and got hit by a car. Or a motorcycle in your case. She laughed at my shocked look, and then continued. You're a little over 6 foot, with a medium muscular build. You got short brown hair and some weird stubble thing going on. Damn. Well, my hair is not short and it's graying, so it's not a description of me. Not your typical Midwesterner description. I also have more than a little bit of a stubble going on. And you got some sad-ass eyes. Not great at guessing these sort of things, but I'm guessing you're in your early 30s? Once I got over the shock of her description, I vowed to take a shower and look in the mirror, but that could wait. I wanted to hear what this case was all about, and for that to happen, I needed a name. So, it looks like I've seen better days, I guess. Remember, the name should be unique, not some John. I don't know what she had against the Johns in her life. I took some time to think about my name while Detective Storm tapped her foot impatiently. How about something like Victor? Victor? What does Victor have to do with a 6-foot bum? Are you 6 foot tall? Definitely not. Definitely not. I am not 6 foot. You know, I want it to be a slight guessing game about how tall I am, but I feel like people are going to be able to get my height pretty quickly. But I'm definitely not 6 foot. I don't know. Something about the letter V stirs up strong emotions in me. Like I have some long negative association with it. And with how I'm currently feeling, negative is the way to go. She gave me a long look before rolling her eyes. Okay, Victor it is. Let's get down to business then, Victor. As the doctor let you know, your wallet is very interesting. There's no ID in your wallet. Instead, in the little fold where the driver's license typically would be, there was a piece of paper with some words written on them. Words funny enough that the wallet found its way from the medical folds all the way to me. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, rectangular piece of paper. She held it out toward me. You think you can handle it? Of course I can. I found out I'm amnesiac today. I can handle anything. Oh, please don't tell me it's an image of a dead body. I grabbed the note. On the paper, in bright red letters, this was written. Her blood is on your hands. Oh. Okay, so this is where that line comes from, because I saw this in all the promotional material for this game. The line, her blood is on your hands. Oh. I stared at the note, and stared at it, and stared at it, and then remembered what I remembered. That was the only part of my memories that remained, was a lingering feeling of sadness and guilt. I didn't know who her was. I didn't know what I had done to her, but the message on the note felt right. The note was startling, not shocking. This note was proof that there was an I that had existed. I know how to deal with this. Did I want to know who that was? The doctor said that my condition was probably psychological. Perhaps there were some things better left forgotten. I gave the note back to Detective Storm, who was carefully scrutinizing me, looking for any hint of a reaction. I must have been pretty pathetic to do something bad enough that I felt I needed to try to forget what I had done. So, there was a murder? She pulled out another cigarette before answering. There was. Brutal one. All I could do was smile at the ridiculousness of it all. I might be the first amnesiac to be a suspect for murder. The Detective Storm must have realized what I was thinking. Oh, don't worry about being a suspect. There's no way you committed the murder. I tilted my head at her questioningly. The murder was hours ago. Your alibi is airtight. I've already had the note before the murder was committed. However, you must understand this was all pretty suspicious. Even if you're not the murderer, we've got to consider that you are involved in all of this somehow. I nodded. That's understandable. There's lots of possibilities to consider. 1. Someone who discovered your body didn't like you and decided to pull an elaborate prank. 2. This could be in reference to a past event and not related to the murder case I'm currently investigating. 3rd, it could be a message in relation to the murder. And lastly, it might have been a message you left for yourself. Now, there's still plenty I'd like to know about the person who left you this message. As for why they decided to place your ID with that note, I have no idea. And well, if it was you, I'm interested in why you left yourself at that note. It really was bizarre. The scenarios in which someone left me the notes seemed so implausible. Why would they do that? What purpose would leaving the notes serve given that I had just been hit by a motorcycle? And if I had left that note for myself, it begged the question on what I had done and whose blood was on my hands. Perhaps the note was supposed to be a reminder of my guilt, but even so, it was a strange thing to do. Your unfortunate condition has put quite a damper on the potential role you might have served in helping me with the investigation. It's not often we get murders around here, and any lead would have helped us. She leaned towards me, and I once again caught that unhinged glimmer. Even so, I liked your help for the case. As such, I asked the doctor if it would be alright if you were to come along and stay with me for the duration of the investigation. From what I hear, you don't have anywhere to go anyway, until some friends or family to come bail you out from I read ahead of that line. Oh my god, I can't wait to say that once I drink a little bit of water. Oh man, I look forward to reading this line. From what I hear, you don't have anywhere to go anyway. Until some friends or family come to bail you out from dealing with a hottie like me, I'd appreciate your cooperation. She gave me a wicked smile, like she gave me a deal I couldn't refuse. Something about that smile seemed so familiar, even though it wasn't possible that I had known her. It made me a little hesitant. Still, I didn't want to turn down her offer. For the sake of getting my memories back more than anything, I owed it not to myself, but to the woman whose blood is on my hands. And let's look at the bright side. Staying with a detective would be staying cooped in a hospital going crazy from not remembering things. Who am I? Well, that's easy. I'm an amnesiac potentially involved in a murder case. Who was I? I could have been a murderer. I could have been accomplice to a murderer. I could have been just an idiot who got caught up in a murderer. Maybe I was just a nobody. I could have been anyone and done anything. Who will I be? That was the real question. I got the feeling that once I remember who I was, that who I was would determine who I would be. Ooh, that line goes hard. Having made up my mind, I nodded towards Detective Storm. It would be my pleasure, Detective Storm. I look forward to working with you. She nodded back. Should warn you though, might be a spooky case. What do you mean? Many of the local residents think there's a supernatural element at work. Ooh, okay. Supernatural element. They're saying these murders are being done for the ghost of Alcantra. Ooh. And that's the name! That's the name! June 7th, 1987. Hey, it's my birthday! Many years before I was born, but it's my birthday! I woke up at a bright and early noon 30 the day after the early noon 30 the day after the festival. I have never seen noon 30 written like that. I've heard people say noon 30, but I have never, read it out loud. I had a groggy staring contest with my ceiling, glanced around my messy room that needed to be clean, and headed down to eat breakfast or brunch, whatever meal label my mother would sarcastically give. And this is the most Midwestern room I've ever seen. Like, every piece of furniture is, made out of wood. This is super Midwestern. I trudged down the stairs to the kitchen, but stopped once I heard whispering. My mom and dad were chatting with Uncle Kyle around our dining table, but rather than the boisterous wall of noise I expected the arrival of a relative to cause, the trio spoke in hushed tones. They obviously didn't want me to hear what they were talking about. Something was up. Uncle Kyle was a detective, and he wouldn't show up unannounced unless something had happened. Knowing they would shut up if I joined them at the table, I crept at the bottom of the stairs to eavesdrop. Ooh, satay. Ganise number 1. Was it that bad, Kyle? I could see everyone from where I was hiding. Uncle Kyle just nodded glumly, and looked into his coffee mug like it contained a dead dog inside it. Uncle Kyle was my mom's brother. All three of them went to Alcantara. My parents stuck around the area like many people growing up around here too, but Uncle Kyle took the more exciting route and left for the big city. Both of my parents work as school teachers, but when something exciting happens, a state detective is called in to investigate, and Uncle Kyle has shown up several times over the years. I like how, I kind of like how Nick's father is just wearing a Hawaiian shirt. That is very Midwestern vibes, like just a Hawaiian shirt, even though you're in fucking Michigan. His first case was dealing with a serial sock stealer. But a murder in Alcantra? This must be a first for him. Yeah, it was a nasty piece of work. Never seen a murder like it. So fun fact on the designs. Nick's dad is based on my engineer's skin from Deep Rock Galactic, if you are familiar with that game. Uncle Kyle is based on Dojima for Persona 4. Oh my god, I thought about that! I was looking at him, I'm like, wait a second. This looks familiar to me. This looks familiar. I knew the Persona 4 reference, but not the Deep Rock Galactic reference. Yeah, no, sorry, I don't know Deep Rock Galactic, but I know Persona 4. I know Persona 4. It was like one of the first anime I watched, as well as like one of the first anime games I watched a playthrough of. I've never played Persona 4 myself, but I know the Persona 4 series. Oh my god. Dojima. The body was cut into pieces. Each limb was severed from the main body and then cut into several more pieces. They were placed in various locations in the house. The head was taken off and placed in front of the door so it would be the first thing you see when you enter the house. The main torso had a litany of stab wounds. Tell you what, I've been doing this for a while now, and none of the murders in the city I've worked on were this bad. Nearly threw up looking at the blood all over the place. Miss Johnson is downright traumatized. I don't blame her. Oh no! Oh, it was the person that didn't go to the festival. Oh, what was her name again? I don't remember her name, but it's gonna come up. Miss Johnson? The ice cream stall lady? If she's traumatized, she must have been the one to discover the body, or what was left of it. Then if she discovered the body, who was murdered? My question was answered immediately. I wonder if the murder in 1997 is related to the murder in 1987. Poor Marina. I can't believe someone would do that to her. Everyone liked her. Marina? That must mean Marina Radek, the lady who was supposed to help out at the ice cream stall yesterday. So that's why she didn't show up. I guess Miss Johnson discovered the body while going to check up on her. I'm gonna get a quick drink real quick. Dang, I'm really getting into this mystery. Wasn't she supposed to be at wasn't she supposed to be at the Johnson stall last night? So the murder must have happened later that night then. No. She never showed up to the summer festival. She was killed in the afternoon. Killer was bold enough to do it during the day. Must have been bacon on everyone in the neighborhood being at the festival. It was bad luck there were no witnesses. No signs of a break-in either. All the doors were locked except for the front door, and the lock didn't show any signs of being tampered with. It's likely that Marina knew the person who killed her, and she let them in herself. The festival starts at 10 a.m. and is in full swing by the afternoon. Given how big a deal the festival is, the whole town shows up for it. If the murder was later in the afternoon or early in the evening, there was a good chance the majority of the neighborhood would be at the festival. Ooh! I already know a potential red herring. Now, this could be a red herring or a clue to the mystery, but one of the friends of the main character did not show up because he was trying to be a loner. That could be a red herring, but I'm already keeping note of that, actually. Who would she know that would do such a thing? Uncle Kyle just shrugged. Don't know. But whoever they are, they must really hate her. My father leaned in expectantly. So, Kyle, any leads or clues in? Nothing obvious. No witnesses, nothing left at the scene besides the body. Right now, we're looking to people acquainted with her that might have had a motive. Miss Radek was really well liked, so there can't be that many people with a big enough grudge to do something like this. We'll start with the usual. Family members, past history, lovers, colleagues, stuff like that. Suspects? Just a few. Delia Loving-Smith of the Classy Jack had a very public fight with her a few days ago. Professor Kashak clearly had a thing for her that never worked out for him. Beryl Johnson had an affair with Marina's ex-husband. And of course there's the Thorns. She used to work for them. Uncle Kyle sighed at his coffee. I've been here since last night. Haven't slept a wink since I got the call. Guessing it won't be the only sleepless night. Why did I become a detective? I thought that was a fairly alarming thing for the detective on the case to say, but my parents didn't seem to care. What was she arguing about with Delilah? The new tourism proposal. Of course, anything to do with the new proposal puts the Thorne family under suspicion. The family is currently our #1 suspect. Though I could imagine that would make your investigation easy. You've got that right. Uncle Kyle gave another big sigh, as if he looked like he'd be happy to drown himself in his coffee. Damn. This will be a pain. Oh. Yeah, let me get a quick drink real quick. I also have one more hour for me to stream tonight, so if I don't finish the game tonight, I'm going to be continuing this next week, because this is definitely something I really want to know the answer to, or see if I can get the answer to it. So I'll see how far I can go in the next hour, but I'm probably going to have to do a follow-up stream next week. Man, but I'm really getting into this mystery. The Thorns reside in a mansion in the southwest part of town on a hill that overlooks the business district. To call them influential around here would be an understatement, especially since I feel like the murders of 1997 and 1987 are connected. Yeah, I especially think they're connected somehow. They are Alcantra, quite literally. They are the descendants of Alistor Thorn, the past leader who changed the town name to Alcantra. They originally gained influence from mining and commodizing the copper found to the north of Alcantra. While the copper mines haven't been operational for a long time, they incorporated the fishing and logging area offered into their business endeavors and remained the financial focus of Alcantra. To speak of money in Alcantra is to speak of the Thorn family. Given how much money they have, you can imagine how much power they have. They ran this town shortly after it was founded in the 1850s, and they run it now. I say they, but the Thorn family only consists of 2 people and the staff who works for them. The Thorns themselves consist of Elgar Thorn, who has to be 1 trillion years old, and his son Vlad. Yenna Thorn, the wife of Elgar, died 18 years ago. Elgar is an old stick that nobody likes, which is just as well because nobody sees him anymore. He keeps himself cooped up in their mansion. Vlad is the public face of the family, and he's a funny, friendly, and charismatic dude. Vlad and Elgar actually disagree on a lot of stuff, including the recent tourism proposal, which is Elgar's idea. Alcantra is going through a sort of civil war, or as close to the civil war as a town of 5,000 can get. I guess Elgar decided that the affluence of the family could always be improved, so he proposed a tourism group meant to promote the locals of Alcantra. Alcantra is separated from a nearby town called Hamatra by a canal, and the lift bridge that crosses the canal. That canal has quite the reputation. I'm gonna get another drink of water. I'm stumbling over my words. This visual novel is very long. Not Umineko long, mind you, but it has 175,000 words. It would take a few streams to finish. Alright, I'm excited for a few streams then. Although, definitely a lot of reading, so I probably can't have these streams be super long, since my voice will probably give out at the end of them. But I'm gonna see how long I can go. Like, I'm going for, like, endurance training. Of course, most of the locals enjoy utilizing the canal, and it becoming a tourist destination would put a major damper on local recreational activities. It's not a popular idea amongst a lot of folk, though others think it could be a great way to bring people to Alcantra, given our dwindling population. Vlad has voiced his dissent towards the idea, which makes the Thorn family itself split on the issue. Why would the Thorns want to get rid of Marina? Marina wasn't involved with the tourism proposal. Don't be naive, honey. You can't trust that family. She worked for them in the past, and you just know how they have skeletons in their closet? You just know they have skeletons in their closet. I bet they killed her to shut her up about something that would make the proposal go away. Are we? No doubt Vlad and Elgar are working together. If Vlad voices his dissent, it makes the Thorn family seem not so bad as a whole, and Vlad will take over soon anyway, so it's best if he looks good to the locals. Gardelia is probably right. We don't know why they want to kill Marina, but we have to be suspicious. If it was the Thorn family, it probably wouldn't be Elgar or Vlad who did the actual killing. They have plenty of connections and enough money to convince other people to do the dirty work. Marina knew plenty of people, and I'm sure some of those people could be bought, even for a murder. Trying to find those trails is where we'll start. Of course, getting the Thorns to cooperate is not going to be a whole lot of fun. Uncle Kyle gave a massive yawn, and then made to get up from his seat. That was my cue. I quietly crept back up the stairs and then stopped down as loudly as I could to conceal my eavesdropping. When I reached the kitchen, the adults were all trying to pretend they hadn't been discussing a murder. I thought I could hear Uncle Kyle talking, so I rushed down. So what happened? Oh, you know, we're just having a lively discussion about a wonderful summer day. Oh my god, can you be any less suspicious? Uh-huh. So Uncle Kyle came all this way to talk about the weather. He sure did. You know, he wanted to be a meteorologist as a kid. So did I at one point. Uncle Kyle and my dad looked at my mom like she was an idiot, which she sometimes was. I did not want to be a meteorologist. My dad looked kind of hurt. Oh, he wanted to be a meteorologist. I'm the one who wanted to be a meteorologist. Really? You think I'd remember that? Right. You think you would. I guess I got more important things to remember. Such as you, Nick. Do you want to be a meteorologist? More important than your husband's dreams? Uncle Kyle ignored my parents, and did his best to put on a serious face, which just made him look even more tired than usual. He was always tired. Nick, I'm sorry to have to say this, but there was a murder yesterday. Marina Radic was the one who was killed. I'm investigating the case currently. I did my best to put on a shocked face. Really? A murder? In Alcantra? Yeah, but don't worry. We'll get it figured out. So, any investigation details you could tell me? Couldn't hurt to try. Perhaps he was feeling talkative? Perhaps I could learn some more than what I've learned from eavesdropping. Absolutely not, Nicholas Fox. Your mother is right. Uncle Kyle smiled a bit. Sorry, Nick. Gonna have to keep quiet on this for now. Hey, just talk to me later. I'm probably gonna tell you. He gave me a big yawn. No, he just gave me a big yawn in general. Well, I'm gonna try to get some sleep while I can. I got a long couple of weeks ahead of me trying to convince the powerful family to admit to their wrongdoing. He went upstairs to get his well-deserved rest. My mother made me my brunch bacon, which I inhaled. I wonder how the rest of the town was reacting to the news. It's hard to imagine routine life here being disturbed by anything, but if something could do it, it'd be murder. Chopin Scherzo number 1. My dad cleared his throat. Nick, your mother and I discussed it earlier, and we decided it's okay for you to hang out in town like you normally do. That said, we'd like you to be a little cautious out there. Honestly, your dad is such a worrywart. Can't hide in our houses. Best we can do is just keep on living. What are you guys going to do today, then? I'll probably go see Walburton and Terrence. My mom made a face at that. Them again? You see them every day. Why don't you try hanging out with Jenny? Jenny is our neighbor and a longtime friend of mine. I basically never see her anymore because basketball has consumed her life. She has basketball, Mom. Or what about that girl you dated a while back? What was her name again? Delia. Jennifer was 3 years ago. We broke up a long time ago, Mom. We dated for like 3 weeks. Yep, that sounds about right for a high schooler. But she was such a nice girl. She cheated on me. Only one. I feel bad for your dad, Nick. I feel really bad for your dad. Who would say that? Only once as a response? Only once as a response? I feel so bad for the dad right now. Because I broke up with her. I shook my head in exasperation. Any reason it's gotta be girls, Mom?
you at least wait for him to graduate? Can you at least wait for him to graduate, man? God damn. Like, what about, you know, financial stability, a house, a job? Like, don't you want that first for your child? Not a grandkid? She wants grandchildren. I want grandchildren. God! At least let him graduate. Honey, he's 17. So? 3 years of dating and then marriage. Then 3 kids. 3 kids? 3 kids in your early 20s? God, you're never gonna have time for yourself. Then 3 kids. He needs to get moving. Howard Fox, you and I will soon be ancient history and have nothing to show for it because we're both school teachers and don't make any money. Damn. Damn. God damn. God damn. We need... by the way, the funny thing about this is... I'm from a family of educators. We need Nick to make something of his life and get a family and kids. I told you that you should have finished the masters. And I should have dated the engineer in our class. God damn. You mean Tim? Oh, he's in jail now. Didn't you hear? My mom let out a dramatic gasp. No shit! For real? Language! I rolled my eyes, but I could do worse for parents. I finished up my food, got ready, and headed out to see if Alberton and Terrace were willing to hang out. I waved goodbye and let them gossip about Tim the Engineer. Actually, I want to know more about Tim the Engineer, man. Hold on, I want to know more about this. Neither Alberton nor Terrace live particularly close to me, but that's not a particularly big deal in Alcantra. On bike, it takes about half an hour to get from one end of the town to the other. We have a little urban area with a Walmart and stuff around the south part of town and a classy old school downtown area more towards northeast. But the pride of Alcantra is our canal from past the downtown area. While Burton and Terrace both live as neighbors in the middle of town. I live pretty close to the business district at the southern end of town, so I passed quite a few people along the way. It seemed like it was business as usual. I guess people felt like my mom did. Shouldn't people be more disturbed about a murder happening here? It turned out not everyone was calm. The first thing out of Walberton's mouth when I showed up at his house was this. Dude, holy shit! Did you hear? Never mind, oh, so you heard. Mr. Ranger must be staying with you. Do you have any details? This is wild, man! I didn't know some details, but I probably shouldn't tell Walberton. There was no doubt he'd spilled everything I told him to everyone he knows, and I didn't want to get Uncle Walberton. I didn't want to get Uncle Kyle in trouble. Sorry, man. Don't know anything besides Maria Radek being murdered. Damn! I figured out you'd say that, but I had to ask. Asked my dad about it. Said in his 30 years of living in Alcantra, he never heard of anything like this happening. We talked about the incident some. While Burton must have been really rattled, we talked about pretty much everything, from the weather to relationships to the fragility of human existence. But with Walberton, it always comes back around to sports. Yep. Alright, this is definitely Midwest. Walberton is an absolute king, and we stand for him in this house. Hell yeah. I'm liking Walberton already. He's pretty cool already. He loves sports. Unfortunately, the universe does not love him as much as he loves sports. He's around 5'4" and quite chubby, but he does his best with what he's got. Hey, 5'4", let's go, 5'4". I've been thinking about Miss Radek. I'm pretty sure she has a daughter in the area. She's been in Alcantra for a long time, though she and her husband split some years back, and he lives somewhere else now. But I think her name was... Alicia, yeah, that's the daughter's name. I think she's still in the area. I hope she's doing okay. Someone should go pay her a visit. Make sure she's safe and let her know we're all here for her. Walberton wants to see her. Walberton's going to offer, that we could go over to see her. He gave me a tap on the shoulder.
I know that brain of yours ain't up for detective work, but you let Mr. Rage know that he should keep an eye out on Alicia. Might be a vendetta against the family. I told him I would. While Burton is pretty popular in school, I attribute it to his heart of gold. He's a funny dude, but he's also a genuinely kind guy. Terrence likes to call us the Optimus pair. I kinda want to be Terrence. Both while Burton and I are pretty cheery guys, but he's better at the cheery thing than me. He's a glass half full kind of dude, but the type that would just pour more water in the glass if he thought it would look too empty. I'm a glass half full kind of dude, but because I'm a believer, he's a realist. I'm a romantic. You want to hang out some? I know you're always looking for an excuse to get fit and impress Jenny. While Burton grimace. Sorry, man. Promised my mom I'll help her with some chores. Next time for sure. I told him no problem and was on my way. Super Midwest. Super Midwest. No problem. I do that all the time. Like, every time like I'm talking with a friend and they say something, like, if it warrants it, I will say no problem. I do that all the time. I start on my way to Terrence's place next. While Burton and Terrace are polar opposites, they say opposites attract for romantic partners, but I think it's more likely that's true in the case of friends. While Burton and I have been friends for as long as I can remember, but sometime in middle school, while Burton adopted Terrence into our friend group. It was surprising since they fought with each other all the time, but I guess somewhere along the line they found respect for each other from all those fights. When I arrived at Terrence's, the first thing he brought up was the murders, just like Will Burton. So, your uncle staying with you? Yep. You know any details? Nope. Figures. What's the point of being connected if you can't take advantage of it? Tell Mr. Rage he's not doing a very good job at being a corrupt cop. When he does become a corrupt cop, you send him my way, and I'll do my best to learn. Damn, you want to be a corrupt cop? I'll let him know. Wait, since when did you want to become a cop? I don't. But I like to be corrupt for sure. Small place like this, hard to make anything for yourself here. I try to make a helpful suggestion. You could be a good person and make something for yourself. That's some bullshit and you know it. Good people ain't becoming successful. Ow! God. Man, I can't be any more real of a line than that. Well, I guess I shouldn't root for your rise to the top then. He shook his head at my not understanding his ambition. Still, I wonder what's up with the killer for the Raddick case. Word is that the murder was absolutely brutal. Wonder what's go through the head of someone willing to do something like that. Terrence likes to psychoanalyze, while Burton is his favorite subject. He thinks that boy has issues. I'm guessing the killer is a psychopath. You know, doesn't think about right and wrong in the same ways most people do. I don't think that's going on with this case. This sort of murderous display screams to me like the killer was trying to send a message, or what was some sort of fucked up therapy for the killer. It seems too personal to be the work of a psychopath. His analysis made it seem like Dr. Kashak, who had a thing for Marina Raddick, or Beryl Johnson, who had an affair with Marina Raddick's ex-husband, were most likely the candidates. You think it's some cliche, like killing for love? Probably. Gotta be something like that. Dude, she was like 60. Do old people fall in love? Of course, you idiot. Anyway, I doubt it was a person who recently fell in love with her. I'm guessing it was someone who loved her a long time ago. That sort of brutality screams to me, if I can't have you in life, I'll have you in death. Must be someone who thinks they don't have much longer to live. That seemed a little out there. I let Terrence rant about how love destroys people's minds for a little longer, then left. Afterwards, I went to bike along the canal front. Also, I'm going to do a quick restroom break since I feel my bladder, so I'm going to be right back. All right, I am back. Let's get back to reading. Afterwards, I went to bike along the canal front. It's my favorite thing to do during the summer because of the way the breeze feels coming off the canal. We have plenty of trails, but biking on trails takes more effort. If you just want to get lost in your thoughts, the boardwalk along the canal is the place to do it. The news of the murders had occupied my thoughts most of the day, but as my mind wandered while I bike, they wandered back to last night, to the strange girl named Alexandria. It's not every day you meet someone like that. She was a little weird, sure, but she definitely seemed like she could be fun too. Just as that thought crossed my mind, there she was, sitting in a gazebo with the same sad look and regional posture from yesterday. Etude. Opening 25, number 5. I guess she had a thing for looking across the canal sadly. I biked over, figured that a shared fireworks viewing established a good enough reason to at least stop by and say hello. I let the kickstand for my bike. I set the kickstand, not let. I set the kickstand for my bike and walked up to her. "What's up, Alexandria? Funny seeing you here." I thought that maybe we had begun to break the ice a little bit last night, but upon hearing my voice, she turned around with a panicked look. Which slowly turned into a judgmental sort of frown that indicated displeasure that I dared disrupt her solitude. Okay, guess the ice was still there. Well, not every fireworks viewing results in lasting friendships. The potential ephemerality. I don't know this word. The potential ephemerality of our everyday encounters makes them all the more meaningful. Or so I rationalized as I thought of a good way to make a tactical retreat and leave her alone. Before I could figure out how to do that, she greeted me coldly. "Hello, Nick." "Well, at least you remember my name." "You, like looking at the canal?" She nodded. The ensuing silence between us made the tactical retreat look appealing once again. "You're visiting the area, right? If so, there's a nice waterfall across the bridge." She scowled at that. "That's none of your business." "Guessing you still don't have a last name." "Not for you to hear anyway." "Yep." Let's get out of here. I was being nosy, thinking that every lonely person needed to be talked to. "Well, it was great. It was good to see you, but I better be heading out." I made to leave, but she stopped me with a sudden outburst. "Oh, wait, Nick!" It's pronounced ephemerality. 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 God, it's so hard for me to pronounce. That is so hard for me to pronounce. Ephemerality. 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 Okay, I think I got it. Ephemerality. Did you hear about the murder last night?" "Yeah, of course." Well, I'm new to the area, and I might be around for a while. I heard Alcantra was pretty safe, but then a murder happens? Pretty crazy, right?" It is Sorry, it's a massive reflux. "It is crazy. Something like this hasn't happened in a long, long time." Can you tell the author is a philosopher? Indeed. I mean, you're a reader of Umineko, so I kind of expected, that as soon as I heard that you've read Umineko. "Isn't your uncle the detective working on the case?" "How did you know this? Hold on, you're new to town. How did you know this?" "Well, okay, if the last name Fox is shared... Wait, no. Wait. Is the last name Fox shared between the detective and Nick?" Did she just say she was new to the area? "And how do you know that?" She smiled at that. "I've got my connections." Connections, you say? Is she somewhat related to the rich family of that town? She must be related to that rich family, so that's why she's not saying her name. She must be connected with them somehow. Whether it be a servant or whether it be she's a family member that they've not really told the town about. That's not much of an answer. Everyone has heard of the Foxes and the cool detective guy who shows up occasionally. So the people you're staying with told you. Something like that. I doubted my family was as well known as she claimed we were, but I saw no reason to hide the fact. Hey, I'm the engineer who makes the vision happen. My partner in this operation is the visionary. Alright, that is fair. That is fair. But hey, Umineko readers are philosophers. Anyone who's read Umineko has a degree or like an undergraduate bachelor's degree in philosophy for reading the entirety of Umineko. I'm almost graduating. I'm finishing Umineko soon. Alright, I'll go past this joke. But yeah, if the both of you have read Umineko, you're both philosophers, both you and the visionary. Yes, my uncle is the detective on the case. And no, I can't give you any details. But what does this have to do with anything? She stood up and made an extremely exaggerated gesture with her arms that I couldn't interpret. I think she was trying to make herself look impressive. Well, not to brag or anything, but I'm somewhat of a detective aficionado. Basically the shut-in loner girl version of Sherlock Holmes. That sort of sentence did not match the Alexandria I had in my mind. Are you telling me that you're going to catch the murderer? She waved her hand. Oh, no, absolutely not. That sounds dangerous, which sounds like something I wouldn't do. No, I'm going to offer you a deal, though. She pointed her finger at me. I take it you're well acquainted with this town. Very. She pointed a finger at herself. And then we have pitiable old me, a girl with no friends all alone in a strange new land. She was becoming quite the actress. Never would have guessed it of her. But this lonely girl harbors deep within herself a keen intellect honed through years of solitude. Surely her powers of deduction could be of use to help solve the local tragedy that has recently struck this town. Then she pointed towards the heavens, which were blocked from us by the roof of the gazebo. I attempted my most exasperated sigh. You did mention you like mystery novels. You really think you can help? Maybe a little. Uh-huh. So you want to play Sherlock? Well, I'm sorry, but I doubt they'll let a weird girl without a last name with no state of residency help with the investigation. She laughed, which was the first time I heard her do it. No, probably not. I wouldn't blame them. But I've got a deal for you. If you show me around town, I'll give you my thoughts on the murders. If you think they're helpful, you can relay them to Mr. Rage. How do you know about Mr. Rage? Okay, you must be connected. You must be connected to either Terrence or Walburton. You must be connected somehow because you're calling him Mr. Rage. Or maybe that's like the town nickname. Also, my notifications for my calendar just came up. Sorry about that. My Google Calendar does that sometimes. I think it's in the town's best interest that the culprit is apprehended as soon as possible. I couldn't believe this girl. She really came up with this convoluted setup to ask me to show her around? What was her game? Was this a ploy to try to make a friend? Or was there something she was hoping to get from me? Is this an excuse to try and make friends? No. It is a mutually beneficial offer. You know, it would have been fine to be like, oh, I'm new around here. Could you show me around? I'd really appreciate it. Or something like that. That's absurd. Who'd ask a stranger something like that? I'm not a stranger. We met yesterday. Of course. And to repay the kind hospitality you showed me yesterday, and which I have requested you show me in the future, I have offered you the extent of my intellectual capabilities. I shook my head. I was still suspicious, but what ulterior motive could she really have? There was really nothing she could gain by hanging out with me, besides becoming friends with me. I decided I would take her up on her offer. Sure thing, Alexandria. You've got yourself a deal. I'll show you the town, and you'll solve the mysterious murder of Alcantra. She nodded, like that was the obvious conclusion to come to, smiled, and stuck out her hand. We have a deal, then. We sure do. I shook her hand. Chopin Scherzo number 1. Chopin. I think it's Chopin. Okay. Let's hear it, Great Detective Alexandria. What do you make of the murder? She shook her head at me. That's rushing things. I need time to synthesize the information. Don't worry. I know you can't tell me anything, but I have plenty to work on from what was reported in the news. So, you're saying you want to explore the town first? Yep. Isn't the phrase ladies first? Yeah. So we should listen to me first, and say that I should learn about Alcantra. I couldn't argue with that. So I walked over to my bike, kept up the stand, and started making my way to downtown, which is pretty close to the canal front. She followed a couple steps behind me. I think downtown would be a great place to start, given how close it is, and it's kind of historical, if you're into that sort of thing. Is there anything a sheltered sort of princess like you is dying to experience? There is a music box feature you can access from the main menu if you ever wanted to listen to tracks on their own. I might do that. I do like classical music whenever I'm working on thumbnails. Sometimes when I work on thumbnails, I either play a YouTube video or play some music, so I might do that actually. Princess? I turned around, and she had a big smile on her face and was a little red. I rolled my eyes. That wasn't meant to be a compliment. What? For someone who was quick to barb responses, she didn't seem to be all that acquainted with sarcasm. Well, by the way you hold yourself is very regal. Most people don't care about their posture. Plus, no offense, you could be a little strange, like you're learning how to talk to people and don't have prior experience. Top it off with your more mysterious qualities, like not telling me a last name and stuff. That's a good point. You're onto something. I'll settle for being a princess. I had no idea what I was onto. She bowed her head a couple of paces from me. Marked change in demeanor compared to our previous interactions. Let's make this clear while we're on the subject. There are some topics that are off limits. My last name is one of them. Where I'm from and where I'm staying is another. Personal inquiries about my state of mind are also not allowed. Lastly, you cannot ask me about my family. She sure was demanding, but I was getting used to it at this point. Okay, that's fair. I want to ask about those things then. What year of school are you in? She seemed amused by that. I was homeschooled. That explained a lot. And I'm 18. I guess I've had graduated from high school by now. The way she worded that was a little strange. Like being homeschooled meant you didn't get to graduate. Wow. Never would have guessed that you're older than me. I'm older? I'm 17. Huh. Then as your elder, you better start treating me with some respect. With age comes wisdom, after all. It's only 1 year. It's only 1 year. Like, literally, do you have really 1 more year of wisdom over Nick? She put a lot of faith in that 1 year she had on me. I realized that we had gotten derailed from my original question. I got the feeling that this was going to happen a lot with her. So, back on topic, anywhere besides downtown you're craving to see? She thought about it for a minute. What about Walmart? Seriously? You've never been to Walmart? She shook her head. Maybe she was a princess, or maybe an extremely religious type who avoided industrial society? We had some of those types around here.
We're gonna get drink a Gatorade. Surprisingly, despite being from the Midwest, I barely have gone to a Walmart. I think mainly because when I was younger, one of the only times I went to Walmart, there was literally a guy walking around naked in the Walmart. So that's part of the reason why I barely go to Walmarts, because I had that association when I was a kid of whenever you go to Walmart, there will be a naked person walking around. It was just probably a one-time thing. Like, that probably doesn't happen really at all at Walmart. But the one time I went in there was someone naked in, like, the frozen food aisle. It probably ingrained the memory in me, and that was part of the reason why I refused to go to Walmart for the longest time.
Well, we can go to Walmart then. It's across town, so maybe we can do it another time. There's lots of small shops downtown that have way higher quality stuff. When we got to the downtown area, wow, this literally feels like it could be anywhere in the Midwest. Wow, yeah, no, as someone from the Midwest, like, I'm like, this could be anywhere, like any small town in the Midwest. When we got to the downtown area, I started to explain the little history of the town I knew. She brushed me off. She already knew it all and way better than I did. That bummed me out a little. But I loved the story behind the summer festival. That's why I was there last night. What do you love about it? I like how hopeful the story is. Alcantra and Alistair's love transcended the grave. Figures you'd be such a romantic. I ignored that I liked that part of the story too. Of course I am. Everyone who loves stories has to be a little bit of a romantic. You read a lot of them? I sure do. Lots and lots of books. We went to a coffee shop. According to Alexandria, it was her first time in a coffee shop. I was beginning to worry more and more that she belonged to a repressively religious family. Was it okay to be doing this? If her parents found out, maybe they were going to execute us for heretical premarital behavior, like going to coffee shops without parental supervision. Alexandra was petrified when it came to ordering the coffee. She cowered behind me and tried to telepathically communicate what she wanted, and then gave me lots of grief when I got her order wrong. You could have just told me you wanted the hazelnut flavor. She looked sadly into her plain cup of black coffee, reminding me of Uncle Kyle. But then I would have to talk. And? Talking is hard. Hopefully it would be easier for her over time. I drank my strange raspberry-flavored coffee, which was kind of gross. And she drank her plain black coffee, which she said was pretty good. And we headed to the antique shop next. Had she ever had coffee? Which was a trip that lasted for about 1 minute. She walked in, looked at one of the toy boats, and promptly walked out. I chased after her. Hey, wait up! There weren't even any people in there! Did you see the price on that boat? How could they charge such exorbitant prices? No, I didn't see the price because you walked out immediately. How much was it? $19.95 for that little pitiful boat? What has the economy come to? That little boat that was $19.95 in 1987. It's probably $30 at this point, or even higher. Probably higher. It's gonna be a lot more nowadays. You would not like 2025. That was a little bit high for a toy boat. It's an antique shop meant for tourists. They try to get people to spend lots of money. Well, I'm rich, but I'm not buying anything from that shop out of principle. You're rich? This really leads into me thinking that she's from that big family in town. I think it was the Thorns. Yeah, I think it was the Thorns. That really leads me to believe she's from that family. Figure of speech. Was it? Do you know anything about the economy? Not really, no. We headed off to our next destination, which was the library. I figured since she liked reading, she'd have a good time here. But she told me that her home had a massive library. Maybe she really was rich. I love being around books anyway, even if I read most of them. $60.
I did not realize inflation was that bad. That's $60.07. I didn't realize inflation was that bad. Oh my god, inflation's bad. Wait, it's 50. That's still bad. 56.90. That's still bad. There's no way you read most of them. She raised an eyebrow at me. 56.90. What the fuck? Why? Why is inflation that bad? Don't challenge friendless people to games that can demonstrate their amount of free time. I walked up to the hardest looking books, which I immediately decided by looking for the biggest ones that looked old. Okay, tell me the plot of this one. She promptly proceeded to tell me the plot of every book I picked. Oh. So now I'm spoiled on War and Peace, Crime and Punishment, Moby Dick, Great Expectations, Anna Karenina, Ulysses, and Don Quixote, unless you made up plots for each of them, which would have been even more impressive. Yeah, capitalism. Okay, this is gonna be my expose right here. I know Don Quixote, Ulysses, Moby Dick. I know Crime and Punishment and War and Peace, but I never read them. But I have read Don Quixote, Ulysses, and Moby Dick. I think Ulysses I read in Latin. That's one thing I do remember very closely. I have read Ulysses in its original Latin. I have a lot of comments about Ulysses, but I'm not getting into it because that would be a long rant. I was going to have to keep up my guard around her. She was clearly much, much smarter than I was. So, what books do you read, Nick? I don't read books, and I figured I couldn't bluff my way out of this one, so I headed to the comic book section. I grabbed a couple of issues I was interested in, and when I returned to face Alexandria, she gave me the most pitying look I've ever seen, like she was looking at a cat that was so dumb it was eating its own tail. Sounds like my cat. I wilted on the spot, and returned the comic books to their original locations. Damn, poor Nick. Okay then, what do you suggest? Her face brightened, and she briskly headed towards the other shelves. She returned with Pride and Prejudice, Dune, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, and a baseball reference book. I know Dune and Pride and Prejudice, but I don't know The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. If I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that. Roger Ackroyd? Not Ackroyd? Ackroyd? And if I get a specific baseball reference book, I'm probably not going to know it, but there could be a small chance. I picked some relatively easy reading, but here are some good books even someone like you would probably appreciate. I picked one romance, a sci-fi fantasy book, and a mystery to diversify the reading. I also included some sports nerd stuff because I figured you'd be into that sort of thing. By the way, even though I know Dune, I've never read Dune. I should definitely read Dune though, because I heard that's like almost a required reading if you like sci-fi, and I grew up with a lot of sci-fi. It's just that I never read Dune. I was a little touched by the thought. Unfortunately, I know how to read these. But who knows? Maybe I'd actually like them. I wasn't going to tell her that I've already read the baseball reference book. Hey, you got one of her suggested books. I checked out my books, and we headed out. It was getting pretty late, and let's face it, she definitely wasn't ready for Walmart. We headed back to the gazebo where we met up. The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is an Agatha Christie novel. So for Agatha Christie novels, I'm going to be honest, I have read And Then There Were None. Oh, what was the other one I read? Oh, it's been a long time. Oh man, I can't believe I can only say And Then There Was None, because I definitely read another Agatha Christie novel, but I'm lost on the name. But I don't know The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I don't know that one. Like, I know Agatha Christie in some of her works, but I actually don't know The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I'm sorry that took so long, but I had a good time. Glad I could help out. I feel bad that I didn't offer any of my promised keen insight about the murders. But if you meet me here tomorrow at the same time we met today, I promise to keep up my end of the bargain. No sightseeing, only detective work. Sure, whatever you say.
She gave me another smile, which was becoming more and more of a frequent occurrence, and headed off. I headed home as well, thinking that Mom would be thrilled if she knew what I was up to this afternoon.
Oh yeah, she would be thrilled. I mean, since this is a relatively small town, someone's definitely going to tell her that, Nick was hanging out with a girl. And his mom's going to be psyched.
Chopin, Mazurka, June 8th, 1987. And I don't think I'll have time to go over June 8th, 1987, so I'm going to go ahead and make a save file right here. And very soon, I'll be making an announcement for my next stream of this game, because I'm really into it, actually. Like, I'm super into learning more about this mystery, especially its connection between 1997 and 1987. I am very intrigued to see this, actually. And this is a pretty long visual novel, so I might be in for a pretty long game, but I'm pretty excited on this. I am pretty excited on this. I especially want to know more with Detective Scarlet. So far, she's my favorite character, but I do like Walburton as well. But yeah, before I actually head out, I'm going to get a clipboard out. Because one thing I'm going to be doing, since this is a mystery visual novel, I'm going to write some things down for my next stream. Some notes, like some general notes about the mystery itself. I'm also enjoying the beginning of the relationship between Nick and Alexandria, since I know that they're going to be developing as characters as they continue working on the mystery of the murder of the... Oh, what was her name again? Oh, no. I forgot her name. Oh, no, she's the murder victim, too. But either way, once I remember her name, I'm going to, write it down. But yeah. I'm going to go ahead and write down some notes real quick on the mystery before I head off for today, since that is something pretty important. So we have a murder of a woman in 1987, murder in 1987, and we also have a murder in 1997. 1997. The murder in 1987, she was dismembered. Like, a lot of her body parts were all over the place. So, dismembered body parts. And it could be a crime of passion. A passion that's love. She is 60 years old. That's I don't know why, but I feel like that's a good point. 60 years old. And there is a rich family in the town. You're about 7% of the way through the script file, by the way. Alright, that's a good thing for me to know. That's a good thing for me to know. And also, we're not close to the detective's breakdown yet. Like, we're not close to, the conclusion of the mystery, so I have some time to figure out what could be, the mystery. So, the murder in 1987, dismembered body parts, crime of passion that's love, she was 60 years old, and she was a former servant of the richest family in town. There was a professor that has unrequited love for her because it did not work out with the relationship. And there was also ex-husband, a connection with her ex-husband, with the person that, yeah, her ex-husband cheated with someone. So there's the person the ex-husband cheated with. Okay. And then the murder in 1997, there's not enough information about her just yet. However, there was a note left behind in the wallet of the amnesiac in that story, who is Victor. And the things that connect them together is they're both in Alcantra. I feel like they're connected because they're also 10 years apart. Like, almost 10 years exactly apart. That's actually a good thing to know. However, okay, so the story began with Victor. I believe it was either April 30th or May 30th. And a week later, the body of the girl that died was found. Okay. It could be around the same time. Never seen someone take notes before. Kind of cool. Oh, yeah. I mean, after reading Umineko, I'm now, like, thinking about the chessboard that you've laid out for me. Like, this game board. Oh, my, I'm going to do a lot of Umineko reference as a quick heads up. I'm almost done with the visual novel. But I'm writing down notes so that I can help myself, see if I can figure out the mystery before the answer is told in the game. That's one thing I like now doing whenever I see a mystery movie or mystery stories. I actually take notes, even while watching movies sometimes, to see if I could figure out who was the perpetrator before the crime is revealed. It's a very fun game that I'm doing as well. Like, I really like playing games and watching movies that have mysteries in them, because I like the, game of trying to figure out who done it. I really like that game. But, yeah, thank you so much for watching my stream. I dropped an empty water bottle. But yeah, thank you so much for watching my stream, and I'll be announcing upcoming second part to this series very soon. It's either going to be next week or the week after that, depending on how tired I am after the festival, since I'm going to be streaming almost every day for the next week. So I might be pretty tired by the end of all this, but I'll give an update very soon on the next time I'll be playing this game. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great night, or a great morning if you are watching me from across the world.